It was one of those nights when the rain just wouldn't stop. The kind of night where the streets glisten like black mirrors and every shadow seems alive. I was driving from Los Angeles to Lake Tahoe with a couple of friends, Sarah in the passenger seat, and Jason sitting in the back. We thought it would be a fun road trip, but the storm had turned the highway into something out of a nightmare. Somewhere past midnight we saw her. A girl standing alone by the roadside, drenched, shivering, her long hair plastered to her face. She didn't wave, she didn't shout, she just stared at us with those desperate eyes. Sarah insisted we couldn't leave her out there. Against my gut feeling, I pulled over. The girl introduced herself softly. "Emily," she said, climbing into the back seat. Her clothes were strange, like something out of the 1970s, and she spoke in this hollow, distant voice. For miles she barely said a word, just whispered directions to keep going straight. Then, as we crossed a small wooden bridge, Emily leaned forward and whispered, "I never made it home last time." Lightning cracked across the sky, and in that brief flash of light, I looked in the rearview mirror. The seat was empty. Emily was gone. Only the seatbelt was still fastened, swinging lightly as if someone invisible was sitting there. We pulled over, shaken to our core. Later, in a small diner by the lake, a waitress told us the story. Years ago, a girl named Emily had died in a car crash on that very road, never reaching home. Travelers still see her on stormy nights, waiting for someone kind enough to stop. But that was just the beginning. A year later, I found myself in New York, visiting an old college friend. His dormitory had been shut down for renovations, but he insisted I see it. "This place has history," he said, his smile a little too nervous. As we walked the empty hallways, I felt it. That heavy silence pressing in. My friend told me about a student, Michael, who had disappeared years ago. He'd heard crying in the middle of the night, coming from a locked room on the top floor. Michael had gone to check, and was never seen again. The next morning, the door was found wide open. His books were still on the desk, his shoes by the bed. But Michael himself? Gone. Standing in that dusty hallway, I swear I heard footsteps above us, slow, steady, pacing back and forth. But the floor above was empty. My friend wouldn't even look up. He just whispered, "Let's go." Detroit was worse. Everyone in town knew about the abandoned factory on the east side. People said it was cursed, but of course, kids loved to dare each other to go inside. That's how I heard the story of Amanda. She and her friends snuck in one night with flashlights, recording everything on their phones. They laughed, called each other cowards, until Amanda decided to prove her bravery by going down to the basement alone. Minutes later, the laughter turned to screams. When they rushed after her, the basement was empty. Her phone lay on the ground, still recording. The last few seconds are infamous online. The sound of Amanda's terrified breathing, then a low, inhuman whisper that no one can explain. The city sealed the factory shut. But sometimes, passing drivers claim they see a light flicker in one of the windows, even though there's no power left inside. But the place that still gives me chills is Colorado. I had gone there with my wife for a weekend escape, renting a small cabin deep in the mountains. It was supposed to be peaceful. On the first night, the power flickered, and the shower water turned black. I brushed it off as old plumbing, but then I noticed something that froze my blood, muddy footprints leading from the door into the kitchen. We hadn't left the cabin. No one had come inside. Yet the prints were fresh, dripping wet. That night, my wife woke up screaming, saying she saw a figure standing over the bed, watching us. When I turned on the light, there was nothing. By sunrise, we packed our things and left in such a hurry that we didn't even lock the door. To this day, hikers who pass through claim they hear voices whispering from that cabin. But the place has been abandoned for years. And then there's Louisiana. Down in the bayou, people tell stories of a figure they call the Whistler. My buddy Jason swears he saw him one night, driving home along an empty stretch of road. He spotted a tall, thin man in a tattered coat standing on the shoulder, completely still. Thinking the man needed help, Jason slowed his car. That's when the figure raised a finger to his lips and whistled. Just one long, haunting note. Jason blinked, and the man was gone. But the whistling didn't stop. It followed him all the way back to his house, circling outside his windows until dawn. Locals say if you ever hear that whistle in the dark, you must never turn around. Because the whistler is already right behind you. So whether it's the roads of California, the factories of Detroit, the dormitories of New York, or the swamps of Louisiana, America is filled with shadows that refuse to rest. And maybe the next time you're out there, on a stormy night, you'll hear them too. Because not every ghost stays where it belongs.